Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brian Stoner with Stellar Cyber. I run the service provider program, and I am really excited today to be joined by one of the luminaries in our business, Michael Crean. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks, Brian. I'm not sure that I've ever been called a luminary in my life, but now there it is. So my name is Michael Crean, and I am the CEO and founder of Solutions Granted.
So this is a follow-up to a conversation that we had about some of the things that you're seeing with your customers in Office 365. Could you share a little bit about that conversation and what you see as some of the key reasons we need to put more focus on that?
Absolutely. So, I think as we've all seen what the last year has transitioned into, we've all become aware that the modern workforce is becoming really, really cloud dependent in ways that probably got accelerated because of COVID. And when you start looking at everything that's sitting in, and not to take anything away from Google, but just seeming what's happening with 365. And when you look at the micro SMBs and the SMBs out there, they're probably running 90% of their business with their collaboration in Teams and the mail and what they've got with SharePoint and OneDrive, and everything is there. And it's almost like you've got all of your eggs in one basket, but who's watching to make sure that nobody's trying to steal eggs from the basket? So I think it's really important that we have to start considering what we're doing and where we're doing it.
Well, Michael, I would have to say that Microsoft probably says their service is very secure. Could you maybe give us some examples?
Yeah, I would agree that they probably do say that their service is very secure, and I think in some ways that it is. But when you go and buy a car and the manufacturer says, "Here's the maintenance cycle, and if you follow this maintenance cycle, we think that the car is going to last you X." Well, it's yours to follow. It's your free will to either do it or don't do it. And I think what happens is there's so much excitement around somebody getting up a SharePoint server or getting their file server migrated to OneDrive or getting rid of their Active Directory to Azure AD, that once it starts working, there's this, hey, everybody, we've done it, we've accomplished it, we made the migration, we're there, we're working. And there's so many other fires that they're putting out, it's on to the next. And they don't necessarily follow the best practices. They're not thinking about the monitoring. They're not thinking about everything that goes along with it other than it just works. And that's a little scary when you think about it at the end of the day.
Yeah, good security is no accident. You definitely have to follow the manufacturer's instructions, right?
Yeah, you don't trip into good security. This isn't one that you can follow with blind luck and get there. This is going to take some patience, perseverance, and guidance for sure.
Well, and I know your team has been able to find some 0 days even leveraging the Stellar Cyber platform. Could you maybe talk a little bit about that?
We have. I think what we have really seen is that the ease of use and the threat hunting within the Stellar platform has just enabled us to take in incredible amounts of data. And the Stellar platform it's simple, it's easy, it's concise, it gets to the point. And the bigger point of it is it gets rid of the noise for us. So, you want to see 100% of everything, obviously, but nobody can really view all of that. But you guys do a great job of getting rid of 99% of the noise, which gives us that opportunity to look at the 1% that we care about.
That's great feedback. So one of the other things that we talked about the other day was the SolarWinds situation.
Mm-hmm.
And how that has been raising awareness for a lot of your customers. Could you talk a little bit about what you're doing around that event and how that's maybe changed the way that you're communicating with some of your customers?
I think we've been seeing it for years. In 2019, it was the breach of the MSP. And people have been saying this for a while. It's coming. The MSPs hold the keys to the castle, and they have all of this information that gets out to so many different people. And so in 2019, you started seeing MSPs getting targeted and getting hit with ransomware, and it trickling down to their customers. And then you see it more in 2020, and now you see something really big like the SolarWinds Orion breach happening. And we've all known supply chain risk management is huge, and we need to be more aware. We need to be asking the right questions, not just saying, "Hey, let me have your stuff because it's really cool and it's going to fix a problem." No, let me do a little due diligence on you. Let me ask you the right questions so that I can understand. And I think that's what this brings awareness for us. And it goes across multiple verticals. Don't just go to an MSSP because they sound great or they've got fancy marketing material and they're doing the best used car sales act that you've ever seen and you feel great. Ask the hard questions. And I think that's where we're really at with this. For me, it's awakening an awareness of start asking the hard questions. Don't follow blindly.
Well, and I think communication plays a big part in how these events play out as well.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about, let's say, I know you're a really big SonicWall partner, and I know they had a
Hmm.
situation that kind of came out last weekend. Maybe you could kind of compare and contrast, what happened with SolarWinds with what's happening there, and maybe what you see as maybe things that they're doing better.
Sure. I think it's the industry as a whole. I think, everybody's afraid that if they admit that something or someone got breached on their watch, that it is a terminating event, they're just going to find fault, you're going to be held liable. And some of that might be true, but the other part of it is we can't let fear dictate doing the right thing. And that is what's happened. People have been afraid to raise their hands, been afraid to say, I think there's something going on here. We really need to investigate this and we need to come forward quickly. And I don't see it happening very often by security manufacturers because I guess they're afraid it's going to tarnish their good name. And as we've all seen what's happened with SonicWall here in I'll call it the last week, just really been the last handful of days, I think that they've over communicated. And most people would say that's a really bad thing, but in this instance, I believe it to be a good thing. They've come out and said that we think that we have a 0-day vulnerability and it's across all of these lines of products. And then they came back very quickly a day later and said, no, we've done exhaustive research and we've looked into it. And we do not believe, and we know that it is no longer in these 2 or 3 products. And then we'll give more updates. So they're doing a really good job of being proactive and preventative and trying to, I don't want to say control the narrative, but they want to get as much information out as they can, as quick as they can, because I think that lends more credibility to their name. And I wish more people would do it personally.
It's the right thing to do, right? I mean, the more honest and open and upfront you are with your customers, the more they're going to appreciate that.
Yeah, what do they say? Bad news doesn't get better with time.
No, it doesn't. So I think what might be interesting for the community here to learn is, how does that affect maybe your communication strategy with your customers?
So, I mean, we've always typically tried to over communicate. We don't want to send out a lot of false positives. Nobody wants that because then kind of what's the point? But when we start seeing indicators to compromise, things that, if we are 60% greater sure that that's where we're going, is that we will start the communication. We're not trying to hit the high 9s. Hey, if we're 90 something percent, well, man, Ray Charles could probably call that one,
Mhm.
doesn't
Yeah.
really need to see it to know it because it's just that obvious. So, our thresholds are a little bit lower. And we're finding that even when it is a false positive, because we're doing it in such a way that we're collaborative and we're doing it in a means to just raise awareness with our partners, we're seeing that people are very appreciative. Hey, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I love how you guys are staying in front of this and not waiting until it's too late.
Wow, that's great advice, and I can understand why you're so successful in your business.
At least for today.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time today. It was really informative. I know everybody's going to get a lot out of this conversation, and I will just say thank you once again for your time today. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity to, give somebody my 2 cents. Thanks for the time.
All right. Thanks again.
Take care.